The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster to the human race. With that being said, The Witcher 3 sucks, and I don't even know why people compare it to Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, I get you can compare video games, but they're not even the same genre, and quality-wise, Red Dead Redemption 2 is way better in most aspects. But this video isn't going to be me comparing the two games, because I already made a video on The Witcher 3, so there'd be no point in me repeating what I said in that video. But I've seen many people calling RDR2 overrated, and I'm gonna be giving my input on it. I'm gonna try my hardest to not praise the game, because there's a lot of things that I think this game does really well. I never played the original Red Dead Redemption, but I think not playing that game was actually a good thing. The only other Rockstar game I played was GTA 5, so some of the complaints I heard other people have aren't something that I can relate to. So let's just start with the story. Now if I was gonna go in depth to explain why the story is great, then I'ma have to go into spoilers. But if you already played the game, then you probably already know that the story is excellent. I would honestly say it's my favorite story of all video games and even of all forms of media. It's up there with like The Dark Knight and Breaking Bad. But I'm not going to be explaining why it's amazing because there's nothing to say that's already been said. It's like saying skilled-based matchmaking ruins a game. Everyone already knows why skilled-based matchmaking is a horrible system, so there'd be no point in explaining it. The game is written very well and things like the small talk make up for those long horse rides. But also the main character, Arthur Morgan, is probably my favorite protagonist of all time. And again, there are many videos out there explaining why he's a great protagonist. But I don't want to explain why he's amazing because I view things like these as a spoiler. I'll use Breaking Bad as an example because that show is kinda old. But if I hear someone say that Skyler is a bitch before I watch the show, then they kinda ruined the surprise of me finding that out. I'll see that she's gonna do something later on in the show that's gonna make me hate her coming from a mile away. If I never heard anything about Skyler, I would dislike her in the first episode, but I would grow to hate her as the show goes on, and be surprised to see how annoying she becomes. And if someone said Breaking Bad is a good show because of what happens to Walt and what he turns into, well then you told me that Walt is gonna change into something, and I would have wanted to see that uncover myself. So saying shit like Arthur is good because of blank is a spoiler to me. And I don't want to spoil it to you guys as well. Now if you're coming back to this game after a long time, I'll link in the description a great video that summarizes the entire story. And make sure to only watch that video. I remember watching some other video that I can't find anymore, but they spoiled the ending at the very beginning of the video, ruining the game for me. If you never played Red Dead Redemption 1, then make sure to not watch any videos on Red Dead Redemption 1, cause I feel it'll ruin your experience playing this game. But if you played Red Dead Redemption 1, I don't think the story will be as good as playing it blind because of it being a prequel, but it's still excellent nonetheless. And when you're playing this game, make sure to complete all the side missions. They don't change the ending of the story or anything like in The Witcher 3, but it goes in depth into Arthur's character. And that's all I'm going to say about the side missions. Now there are a couple of things I want to talk about without spoilers, starting off with the early chapters. The first chapter or two of the game is very slow, but slow isn't necessarily a bad thing. If the game takes its time building the world and its characters, then I think the game does a good job. It's like the third season of Daredevil where you see Matt recover, and this is a good thing and not a bad thing. The only time when a game being slow is a problem is when the game adds nothing to the world, plot, or characters. A good example being The Witcher 3. All you're doing in the first 2/3 of the game is finding Ciri, with no interesting characters or anything. I know a lot of people stop playing the game before finishing chapter 2, and if you're one of them, I'd encourage you to finish it. Because I don't think you're getting any story like this in any other video game, movie, or show, at least from the ones that I watched and played. Finishing the game with high honor gives you a really satisfying conclusion for around a 50-hour game. Now another thing I want to briefly talk about is chapter 5. A lot of people didn't like this chapter, and it's understandable, but I didn't mind it. The only thing about this chapter that's important is what happens in the tunnel right before you climb up the ladder. If you played the game then you'll know what I'm talking about, but other than that section of the chapter, there is nothing else that's really important. It's just a huge action fest and it's just Rockstar showing off how beautiful their game is. Now although they didn't need to have this chapter, I wouldn't say it ruined the game. I still had a good time playing that chapter in terms of the gameplay and hunting all the animals. In some ways I can see it being an issue, but it was a very short chapter so I didn't mind it. But this chapter is kinda like some sections from The Witcher 3. In White Orchard, you do some chores and then leave. And in the island where you find Ciri, then leave. And never head back there again. I had an issue with those parts of The Witcher 3 because I didn't like the gameplay. But I didn't mind chapter 5 in Red Dead Redemption 2 because I actually like the gameplay in RDR2. So let's just get into the gameplay. Coming from someone who's only played GTA 5 in 2014, the gameplay is great. I don't think it's extraordinary, but I think it's great. There's a shit ton of things you can do like hunting animals, bounties, helping NPCs, fishing, completing challenges, robbing shit, and finding Easter eggs and secrets across the map. And none of these things are half-assed. Like in the hunting for example, there are 200 different animals and fishes you can find, and of those 200 animals, there are 16 legendary animals that you can only hunt one of. And hunting these animals has you looking for clues and everything. Now I can go on about how detailed the gameplay and the activities are, but hunting animals is definitely my favorite side activity in the game. And this distracts me from the long treks between missions. I'd see some animal I never hunted before, or an animal I need in order to craft something, and I'll just go hunt it down. Now this isn't for everyone, but I can hunt for days in this game, and it makes up for those long horse rides that some people have a problem with. I kept wanting to upgrade the camp, craft new clothing, and just complete as much of the compendium that I was able to. But not everyone likes to do that, so they may have a problem with that. But let's talk about something that most people had an issue with, and that's the combat. Many people say that the combat for RDR2 is a copy and paste from RDR1, and I can't say anything about that because I never played the original game. I did play GTA 5 though, and I can say that the combat feels one-to-one. The only thing though is that the guns sound better in this game, and Deadeye is much more satisfying than Trevor's Berserk mode or whatever it's called. The aim assist is super strong, making it easy, but it's something that isn't a huge problem for me. I'm used to having games with strong aim assist like in COD Zombies. But in Zombies, it's not the aim assist that controls the difficulty, but it's the map, the training spots, the camping spots, wonder weapons, etc. In this game, the only thing that's controlling the difficulty is the aim assist, and you can turn it on or off. I played the game with aim assist cause without it, it's just terrible, let's be honest. Cause it just feels nasty like from Days Gone, where it's just slow and rough. But I think they can improve the combat by making the aim assist similar to how Fortnite does it. The aiming doesn't feel nasty in that game, and it doesn't feel like you have an aimbot. And the stealth could be better, but I don't think it needs to have top of the line stealth, because there aren't that many stealth missions in this game for it to matter. Now another thing I heard people have a problem with is that the gameplay is very linear and you can't do anything on your own. You move 10 meters away from the highlighted path, the mission fails. If you go into the wrong room, your mission fails. Some people may have had that issue, but I can't remember having that problem. It wasn't that hard to follow the objectives in my opinion. And I never felt like having the need to go off track. So I guess if you want to get sidetracked in missions, it's a problem, but I don't get why you would, cause it's an open world game. And you can explore the world for yourself in between missions, which is what I did. But another issue that I heard some people have is having to complete missions in the way Rockstar designs their missions. Instead of being creative with the ways you carry out your missions by figuring out your ways of entry and your getaway, you have to complete the missions the exact way Rockstar wants you to complete the mission. There's a great video I'll link in the description going in depth, but an example of a mission that he talks about is a mission in one of the older GTA games where you were supposed to chase some guy down in a car. But you can find the target's car before the mission starts, so what the player does is take the car and plant a bomb on it to make the mission easier for themselves. Now, I can't confirm anything, but I'm pretty sure that's a glitch. Now, it might feel nice to figure that out, and depending on the person, it probably made the mission better, cause it may have been frustrating. But the thing is, I don't think Rockstar ever wanted that to happen. It's like getting the elemental knife in Origins. It's a cool thing to have and it's arguably OP, but Treyarch never wanted to have that in the game, so they took it out of the remaster in Zombies Chronicles. Rockstar probably saw this issue and then may have realized that that makes the level way too easy, so they probably fixed the issue in the later games by making sure you're not able to do that. They even updated this issue in GTA Online, where you were able to purchase an apartment near the bank from the Pacific Standard heist. The bikes you had were complete dog shit cause you'd keep getting shot, so people would have a Kuruma in their apartment to complete the mission without losing any money. Now I do see this as an issue in GTA Online cause GTA Online is horrible cause you make pennies from heists and missions, so by losing even more money by fixing the glitch was annoying and it hurt the game. But in the older GTA game, it wouldn't have affected me personally cause I wouldn't have wanted to make my game easier. But when trying to appease everyone, I would say it's better for Rockstar to keep the glitch in the game. Cause if people want to take the easy route, they can just go for it. And people like me would just play the game the way the game is meant to be played. Now I want to add that there are some missions where you have complete freedom and control. Now calling them missions is arguable cause it's also an open world activity, but you've got the serial killer missions and the treasure hunts. And although I do like these types of missions, I don't think it was a bad thing for the game to have so few of them. The secrets you find in the world, the NPCs being incredibly detailed to the point where they'd remember you if you attacked them before or something is already impressive to me. So overall, the only problem that I have with the gameplay is the combat. Everything else is fine in my personal opinion. But one thing I can't tell whether I like or dislike is the realism. Sometimes I think it's fine. For example, I don't think having to change clothes in warmer or cooler temperatures is bad. I also think skinning animals is fine. But one thing I don't like is looting. When you're looting bodies, you have to loot every single corpse individually. And when you're looting every corpse, you spend like a good 6 seconds looking at the animation. And it just wastes time. If they were able to make the looting how it was in GTA 5, where you just walk over the body, then I wouldn't have had an issue with it. They should have just made some option in the settings menu where you're able to turn on auto loot. Some people who care about realism will keep it on, while everyone else turns it off. And another problem that's not really a problem in this game specifically, but is a problem in Rockstar games in general, at least in Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5, is the entire wanted system. Once the cops find you, they're on your ass for what feels like hours, and sometimes they come out of nowhere. Now I'm not sure exactly how long it takes to lose the cops when you're out of their sight, but I think they need to reduce it by like half the amount of time. Now this isn't a huge issue, but I think it's still an issue that they can improve on in their later games. Another thing that this game does great is the horse. I honestly think it's the best horse of all time. The genital and defecation physics are something that they didn't even need to add, but are truly astonishing. This itself is way better than all of games like The Witcher 3 and Black Ops Cold War. The only thing that sucks about the horse though is having to spam X. Now although they found a way to solve this issue by adding a cinematic mode, aka auto horse, I still think they should have made it so that you just have to double tap X once, then hold, if you want your horse to gallop fast, and to just hold X if you want your horse to gallop at a moderate pace. I don't want to see another Rockstar game where you have to constantly spam X, cause it was also annoying in GTA 5, and in that game, you'd only use it for running. But finally, let's talk about how the game looks, sounds, and runs. Visually, you can already tell it's the best looking open world game on PS4. Now it's not necessarily the prettiest open world game, because Ghost of Tsushima is arguably more beautiful. But when it comes to the graphics, so like the textures and everything, this game is probably the best. It looks way better on PC, but it still looks amazing on console. And the ambient soundtracks and sounds are also really good. And on top of this, I never had any issues with the game. No bugs, no blue screens, no glitches, nothing. It runs at a smooth 30 FPS. But that wasn't necessarily the case in the online mode. So let's move on to Red Dead Online. It's horrible. I can't think of a single thing that the online mode does good, other than one thing, and I'll get to that later. But I was just talking about technical issues, and there weren't any issues that gave me any blue screens or anything, but I had an issue where the game just completely reset my daily challenges and my gold bar multiplier. If you don't know, getting gold bars in this game is super tough, and I maxed my daily gold bar multiplier so that I can unlock half a gold bar every day. And this took me around a month, I wanna say. But like a week after, the game just randomly decided to reset my streak, for no reason. I didn't even bother contacting Rockstar to get my streak back cause it's Take-Two, and Take-Two is the biggest cash cow in the video game industry, right next to EA. And the online being awful in this game is also on Take-Two. The missions in this game were fun for the first couple of hours I wanna say, but they got boring real fast. This game had a lot of potential because the heists in the story mode were actually fun, and Take-Two just decided to scrap its potential by milking the shit out of GTA Online. Red Dead Online came out in November of 2018, like a month after Red Dead Redemption 2 came out. Between its release and the date of when this video is being released, GTA 5 got two major updates, the Casino Heist and the Cayo Perico Heist. In Red Dead Online, all you got was some Bounty Hunter update. Now I wouldn't be pissed if the new heists in GTA were good, or if the Red Dead Bounty Hunter update was good. But the new heists, at least in my opinion, were not as good as the older heists. Now I'm not going to go into why, cause this video isn't about GTA 5, and I don't really know too much about the Bounty Hunter update. But instead of working on those new heists that were inferior to the original heist and the Doomsday heist, Rockstar could have just worked on some heists for Red Dead Online. By doing this, there would have been a twist to the GTA heists. You'd be going on a horseback shooting, which is way better by the way, than going on a drive-by shooting. But not only that, you've got different guns. If the game took place after the epilogue, you could try out prototypes of the first airplanes, go on hot air balloons, and just try a whole bunch of other things, instead of milking GTA Online. Now another thing that sucks about Red Dead Online is a problem that's been in all of Take-Two's games, and it's the heavy reliance on microtransactions. Now GTA Online and Red Dead Online aren't really pay to win, but it's more pay to play the game. It's worse in GTA Online, but it's still terrible in Red Dead Online. All the good horses, the moonshine shit, and all the goods you want to get in the game cost gold bars. Remember how I said earlier Rockstar reset my daily gold streak? Well, that's probably because they want me to give up and buy gold bars with real money. but there's no way I'm supporting this business model. There's almost nothing good about Red Dead Online. The only thing that I like is playing poker with my friends. Some of my friends and I actually learned how to play poker through Red Dead, and we ended up playing for hours multiple times. And I'm not even joking, the poker was actually fun. But unfortunately, that's the only good thing about Red Dead Online. The rest of it is just terrible. So if I were to give the two modes a score, I'd say the story is like a 9.5 out of 10 and the online is like a 1.5 out of 10. I think the story is a tad bit overrated because it does have a few flaws. And again, I don't think any game is a perfect 10 out of 10 masterpiece. I do think the story itself is a 10 out of 10 story, but not the entire story mode. And as for the online, I don't know if people are praising the game or hating it, but if it is getting criticized, then I think it deserves to get its criticism, because this game has so much potential that Take-Two just chooses to ignore. The game can function, but it's just that there's nothing to do other than being able to play poker, which is why I'd say it's a 1.5 out of 10. If it were broken and unplayable on top of having no content, then I'd give it a 0 out of 10. But it isn't, and the poker brings it up from a 1 to a 1.5 out of 10. And that's why I think overall, Red Dead Redemption 2 is mediocre or decent, but I'll just give it a decent. I think the game is worth the $60 just for the story mode, but the online is just horrible. It's maybe worth it if it goes for free on PS Plus or the Epic Game Store, so don't buy the online mode separately. And now you might be asking why I actually included Red Dead Online in my final score, even though you can buy it separately. Now I'm gonna sound like an idiot, but I thought that the online was what was gonna sell this game. I spent a lot of time in GTA Online and the story wasn't memorable for me, other than some of those Trevor and Franklin scenes of course, so I thought I'd feel the same way about Red Dead Redemption 2. But I was just wrong. The story was actually amazing and the online was complete dog shit. Now I didn't think it would have been as good as GTA Online during its prime, but I was expecting there to be some updates and some new content. They're just choosing to do absolutely nothing and they're just trying to milk every last penny out of GTA Online. So because the game comes with an online mode, I'm going to include it in my final score. But I would say that this game is definitely worth full price just for the story. But anyways, that's it for this video. If you like this video, then make sure to like and subscribe and let me know why The Witcher 3 sucks in the comment section below, because my next video might be on Bloodborne. So yeah, later.